Kozilek's Command is a new Modern Horizons 3 card that is broken for 2 colorless and X. There's many abilities on this card that we can abuse, and alongside Eldrazi Temple to make it cheaper, on turn 2 we can do something even as broken as exiling a 1-drop, scrying 1 and drawing a card. This is powerful, but true power is being able to hardcast Emrakul in Modern. This is utilizing both Kozilek's Command's mana ability as well as the new Ugin's Labyrinth, a card that lets us exile an expensive spell from our hand to let this tap for 2 mana, and on the later game we can bounce that exiled card back to our hand when we want to cast it. At first I thought this was a medium strength land until I played a turn 1 Chalice on 1, a turn 2 Thought-Knot Seer, and then a turn 3 One Ring. I mean, not much more explanation for that. This decklist is all brought together by Ancient Stirrings, One Ring, and Through the Breach to steal wins and draw a load of cards. This decklist is so powerful you need to watch this whole video because I do some insanely broken things in Magic the Gathering. This video is sponsored by TC's Magic Box, a Magic the Gathering YouTube channel dedicated to opening secret layers and collector booster box boosters. This is my 3rd sponsored video for TC's Magic Box as they wanted me to come back and take a break from poker to get back into Magic the Gathering, so a huge thank you to them for supporting the channel and making this video be here. You need to go check them out if you do like pack openings and want some good vibes and some great content to watch while you're doing some work or you're playing games. A big thank you again to TC's Magic Box for sponsoring this channel and the past 3 videos. Now let's get into some broken gameplay. Starting off the first round, game 1, we don't have a great opening 7, but we have Devourer of Destiny to try and control the top card of our library to smooth out our draws. And we get exactly that. Being able to look at the top 4, we can put 3 useless mana sources to the bottom and put a Thought-Knot Seer on top of our deck so that we can cast that next turn on turn 2. Playing our Eldrazi Temple, the opponent fetches a basic island and passes back the turn. With Thought-Knot Seer off the top of the deck, we can now exile the Ulamog or Emrakul in our hand. I decide to go for the Ulamog as we want to be able to draw Through the Breach off the top and be able to cast that in 2 turns time. Now we can get our Thought-Knot Seer into play, the opponent draws a card and gets an energy at the same time, and it makes all so much sense because they have Aetherworks Marvel in their hand. They're trying to set up all the energy to cast an Emrakul of their own. As they have too much energy available to them, I decide to take the Aetherworks Marvel and they get their Mana Rock Solar Transformer down, and as we find a land off the top of the deck, all we can do is attack with our Thought-Knot Seer. It is quite concerning with how much card filtration my opponent is getting by being able to try and draw towards their own Emrakul so that they can activate their Through the Breach, so we really need something off the top. Like an absolute beast, we rip Through the Breach off the top of the deck, my opponent is dead, let's cast that and win the game. Bye bye lands. Going into game 2, All Is Dust seems terrible against the deck that only showed us colorless permanents, so let's get them out and all the disruptive spells in that prevent Aetherworks Marvel from working. Going into game 2, we definitely have a risky opening 7, but don't forget Eldrazi Temple works to fuel Kozilek's Command, and you can cast Kozilek's Command for X is 0 and scry 0 and draw a card. So this is suitable to keep, because if we don't find a land off the top, we can cast Kozilek's Command for 0, but of course I'm an absolute beast. Ugin's Labyrinth off the top. Why wouldn't we find that off the top? I don't even know. We do not have a 7 mana spell to exile with the Labyrinth, so we can't use it turn 1, so let's just play our Eldrazi Temple and pass back. The opponent has an Ugin's Labyrinth of their own, and they play 2 Armored Raptors because one cascaded into the other. We find a Stonebrain off the top, and now we have to play our Ugin's Labyrinth without exiling anything. Feels really painful, but there's not much we can do, so I just play the Talisman and pass back the turn. The opponent gets in for 4 damage, plays another Ugin's Labyrinth, and then has a Magus of the Moon, which is a big problem here as we're already mana screwed. With an Ancient Stirrings off the top, we're able to get another Talisman, but with the opponent attacking in for 6 again, and us playing our Thought-Knot Seer and seeing that they have 2 Galvanic Discharges, when they kill my Thought-Knot Seer and they draw a card, this game is just hopeless. Let's move on to game 3. Going into game 3, we have a great opening 7 with decent mana and disruption. But what's even more interesting is the opponent has a Devourer of Destiny of their own. This makes a ton of sense as the card goes really well alongside Ugin's Labyrinth, as you can control the top card of your library and then exile the 7-drop in your hand that you don't need. Speaking of Ugin's Labyrinth, of course I ripped one off the top of the deck, so we're going to slam this Thought-Knot Seer and set up for the One Ring next turn. I mean, this is just such an insane draw. Ugin's Labyrinth, what a sick top deck. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Their hand, they've got Aetherworks Marvel, they've got Through the Breach. I think here Aetherworks Marvel's the most castable card, but they also don't have much energy to go alongside it. But I think we just gotta go for the Through the Breach. They already have the Emrakul. If they get to 5 mana, we'll instantly die. At least the Aetherworks Marvel, there's some RNG if there's gonna be an Emrakul on top of the deck or not. Passing back the turn, the opponent surveils an Aetherworks Marvel to the yard, and they play the Amped Raptor. Yes, it's not Armored Raptor. I understand I said it wrong earlier, but I can't be bothered to edit it out of the video. Now, it is really tempting to slam the One Ring here, but I don't think card draw is what we need right now. The opponent can cast the Aetherworks Marvel next turn, and that's all they've got going in their hand. They've also got a lot of energy already, so I think it's way better to play the Disruptor Flute now. Yes, I understand I can flash it in response to Aetherworks Marvel on the stack, but I would rather Aetherworks Marvel just not be on the table at all. Aetherworks Marvel does make energy on its own, so I don't want them getting free energy by just putting it down. It's really scary when the opponent gets 5 mana, but they haven't drawn a Through the Breach yet. Both of our decks are designed in a way that if you draw Through the Breach off the top of the deck, you instantly win. Yeah, you can see where this game goes. Now, this deck has a really repetitive game plan. Play some Disruption, draw a load of cards, and cast Through the Breach and win. So let's look at some highlights over the next few matches and see the finals of this league to see how I do. In the next round, I go up against the Naku combo deck. This is with Shuko, targeting your creatures a load of times. I'm sure there's a load of coverage of this deck on social media, go check it out. I think it's an okay combo deck. Now, we do lose the first game because we don't get to Through the Breach the opponent, but in games 2 and 3, the interaction and disruption that our deck has really shined through. Like you saw in the introduction, Eldrazi Temple and Kozilek's Command works together because it's an Eldrazi instant. This is insane because against a turn 1 mana dork, I can exile it, scry 1, and draw a card. That is like so insane. I mean, I don't even know if there's any other card in the format that can really do this. This is essentially a Kolaghan's Command on turn 2. How about on the later turns, when we can cast it for X is humongous and scry a ton and draw the best card out of them? I mean, this is also extremely powerful. This Kozilek's Command found another Kozilek's Command, so I can do the exact same thing next turn, scry a ton and draw a card, and remove a creature. It's really hard for my opponent to deal with this. I whittled down their resources to 0 cards in hand, and we won game 2. Game 3, Devourer of Destiny being a great hardcast candidate, was really good alongside all the disruption that we had to prevent the opponent from getting creatures on the board. The opponent stumbled a ton, we got a ton of removal and disruption, easy win, on to match 3. Match 3 is so simple. Game 1, I cast Through the Breach, and the opponent dies. In game 2, I was mana screwed, and the opponent had Obsidian Charmaw to destroy my lands to mana screw me even more. As well as them being a control deck, they countered any relevant spell that I put on the stack. In the third game, my opponent played a turn 1 Tamiyo, and that was the only spell they played in the third game. Yeah, they got mana screwed, kept a risky hand on the draw. Makes sense, you can draw a land. They didn't get there, we won. The fourth round is where things got interesting because I played against a red-white aggressive deck. This deck was trying to go under me as fast as possible, as well as use a load of disruption and burn. What's even more annoying is their deck was an incidental life gain deck, meaning that they would always be above 15 life, so my Through the Breach wouldn't be lethal, as well as them making a load of tokens. Even if I can get an Emrakul on the table, they can sacrifice all their lands and still have lethal on the board. Definitely a nightmare. Game 2 was an easy win though, as we had turn 1 Chalice on 1 and turn 2 Thought-Knot Seer. Not much else to say here. The opponent's deck is full of 1-drops, and Thought-Knot Seer is a big 4/4 that they'll find hard to remove and deal a ton of damage to them. Not only that, we were going to follow up with the One Ring, but they conceded before I could even start beating them down to the pulp. Game 3 was so close. Look at this. I'm at 3 life, I can cast All Is Dust, and then I have to hope my opponent doesn't find a Lightning Bolt or a Titan of Fury for me to survive. But even then, my One Ring is going to deal 1 damage to me every turn, so I have to find another One Ring. We have 2 Kozilek's Commands to let us scry a bunch to find them. Are we going to be able to find them though? Let's see. So we Kozilek's Command on the end of their turn, scry 1 to the bottom, draw a card. That's a go over the Burn Willows, doesn't do anything. Our One Ring loses us 1 life, and we get to draw a Chalice of the Void. Okay. We get to draw 2 cards with the One Ring here. That finds us a Through the Breach. That's not worth it. We're going to use every single mana available to us to scry a bunch and make a load of mana sources. These will be chump blockers and a way to cast the One Ring, as we're going to make a ton of mana. Now, I could have left 1 green mana here, because technically I could scry into an Ancient Stirrings, would give me 5 extra looks at the One Ring, but I didn't think of this at the time. But yeah, we do not find the One Ring, sadly. In the last round, I hardcast Emrakul game 1 on turn 6. The opponent has a Solitude to exile the Emrakul. Then on my extra turn, well, we're going to put another Emrakul on the table. Thank you very much, sir. That Solitude as well gives us 15 extra life. Very important for this One Ring, so I don't die. Kozilek's command is really powerful. The One Ring, really powerful. This deck in general, really, really powerful. I saw so many Ugin lands in this league. I think it's going to make a big impact on the format. At least Modern Horizons 3 in general, seeing a ton of play. This is actually doing way better than I expected. I got 4 wins and 1 loss in this league. That means I've got 5 chests to open for you gambling degenerates. Hope you guys all enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys soon.